My name's Alex, and I'm developing a 2D bullet hell resource manager called No Home for Icarus, where under a time crunch you have to sacrifice items to the Greek God Zeus, while discovering new machines to craft in order to automate and/or extract even more exotic resources from your small island. Succeed, and your island expands. Fail, and monsters spawn hunting you down, attempting to take you out. The game functions as a roguelike, so death is permanent, causing you to restart from the beginning. Join me on my development journey to release my first commercial title. So, I spent most of Wednesday doing art. I worked at the enemy AI a little bit, but honestly wasn't really feeling it, so I whipped open Sprite and got to work. The current style I'm going for is a colorful, saturated take on the Game Boy pixel art style, most of it being inspired from different images I have on my Pinterest reference boards that I'm putting together. All of the images are from Game Boy games. The main purpose of me going for this style is that I, as someone who isn't the best in art, can create something not only timeless, but that works for what I need. I wanted to really go after that nostalgia factor as well. Even though I don't really have a connection to these games or Game Boy as a handheld console, I still appreciate and value the aesthetic, as it is what dominated the gaming sphere for quite some time. Plus, 90s 3D graphics and early 2000s stuff is making a comeback and giving people major nostalgia factor, so I'm going to play off of that as well. Anything to help my game become more successful. Another reason why I'm going for this style is that the style itself focuses on big details and personality. Anytime I see a different screenshot from the same Game Boy game, it feels like an adventure. I want this game to have a plethora of different zones and places to explore and tons of personality everywhere you go, despite being limited to small little islands you expand upon from adhering to the main gameplay loop. Limiting myself to a 16x16 canvas is also going to help with animating. Less pixels means less animating, which means more and more of the movement is to be interpreted by whoever is viewing it, so there's less work involved overall. I don't think I'm really capable to make extremely refined animations, and don't have the current funds to really pay anyone either, so that's why I'm going with this approach. By the way, this may be a good point to plug my new Patreon, where you can give me a few dollars each month to help development and exchange get previews to videos and suggest topics for other non-devlog related content. Anyways, back to the art style. As for color choice, it was mainly inspired by a specific artist I've seen floating around over on Reddit. A major thing about the art style is that I really want a colorful game that grabs your attention, especially as the Game Boy art style I think is vastly underrated and looks really appealing on such a nice saturated palette. Thursday I felt kind of under the weather, however I took this time to create my enemy AI and passive AI, even if they are in a very rudimentary state. For movement and pathfinding, I used A-Star pathfinding. The great thing about A-Star is that it's rather simple. It has object avoidance and it works for 2D games, as Unity's built-in nav mesh is wonky. And while it can work with 2D if you do enough adjustments, it's not going to be something that's really going to be viable to use. Friday I spent it working on the island system for whenever Zeus judges you, and you pass, allowing you to gain another island. I worked on tiles and island prefabs for better variation, however I got stuck figuring out how to prevent the player from going in the water. Ended up settling on having a collider on the island that disables like a door whenever you get another island, and then having a bridge to said island generate automatically. Doing it this way will save time and headache, although it means I have to set up border colliders per island, which honestly won't be that big of a deal, but may be kind of a pain at first. For resource respawning on the islands, I did an invoke repeating method inside the resource spawner script that will randomly respawn resources if there's nothing blocking the spawn point for them, which will happen every 20 to 60 seconds, starting 30 seconds after the spawn nodes enter the game world. That way it'll help prevent freezing and any sort of lag once you have multiple islands. Before, I tried tying the spawn method to a delegate, which all the delegates were called at once, making the game freeze, bringing down the FPS from 700 to 300. On Saturday, I worked on the structure system. Now players have the ability to craft a structure and place it from their inventory into the game world. There's still some work needed on making the structures actually function, which will be developed and shown in the next devlog. As of right now, there's only a few more features left before I begin focusing on refining the game's mechanics. Those features are discovering crafting recipes by researching items you find, the game death screen and stat screen, pause menu, main game menu, and of course adding in functioning structures. So that's going to be it for this devlog. Be sure to give the video a like, thank you guys for watching, and check out my Patreon linked in the description below.